All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Black Art and Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Terry, and this is an episode that's sponsored by the University of Wisconsin-Parkside College of Arts and Humanities. And today we have another amazing artist out of Indianapolis, Indiana, by the name of Israel Solomon. Welcome, Israel.
Thanks for having me, Scott. I appreciate it. This is awesome.
Yeah, right on, right on. Well, I'm looking forward to talking with you today and learning more about who Israel Solomon is and the work that you're doing and the experiences that you're creating for yourself and other artists of color around the country. So, just before we jump into that, though, a little bit about Israel. Israel is a visual artist hailing from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Mm.
Shout out to the Midwest, right?
Yep.
Yeah, shout out to the Midwest.
For
And
sure.
he recently is in a show at Newfields, which is an art museum in Indianapolis, and we're going to talk about that as well. In addition to coming off another amazing art fair, art experience called Butter in Indianapolis, so we're going to get a chance to talk about that as well and more. So again, welcome Israel, and we're going to jump right into it. So Israel, tell us, let's give us a little bit of background about Israel, about who you are. Who is Israel Solomon?
Yeah, I'm a visual artist. I come from a small town in Indiana called Kokomo, Indiana, which is about an hour north of Indianapolis. I grew up with a dad and an older brother who both did a little bit of drawing, and they inspired me when I was younger. And that's sort of how I got into drawing and wanted to mimic them, wanting to duplicate what it is that they did, admiring their work. And I'm the one that just sort of kept doing it and kept going at it. And I'm a shy person. I'm a quiet person by nature, and art has always been a way for me to be able to express myself and my feelings. And it's been a blessing that I've been able to create and make things that might express how I feel, or my my emotions, my mood, and have people to be able to connect with it. So it's definitely a blessing. um and I'm glad to be able to share my work with everybody today and my story. So any questions that you have in regards to my process, my history, what it is that I've been through, I'll do my best to answer them and give any advice that I have for anybody who is inspiring to be an artist and to grow their craft. For me, I teach as well as produce art, and one of the things that I always tell people that I'm speaking with is, the key to this thing, in my opinion, is consistency and doing it in regards to how you. It doesn't matter how you feeling about it that day. Um, Keep working and chipping away at it and producing, even if you're second guessing yourself. Keep pushing for it. Keep working at it, and that's how you're going to see success and consistency. So I didn't give you the whole background, but if you have any specific questions in regards to like my upbringing and how I came up, I'd be happy to share those things with you.
Yeah, sure. We're going to talk about some of that too. So, did you take? You mentioned. Let me backtrack a little bit. So, you mentioned your dad and your brother
Yeah.
as being artistic influences for you. What type of like what was their style and what was how would how did they influence your work and your journey?
Yeah, so my dad was a Baptist minister when I was growing up. So I grew up in a church home. Our house was literally connected to the church. So he wasn't I would say he wasn't necessarily an artist. He did lead the church's choir, play the organ, keys and things of that nature. But every once in a while my dad would pick up a piece of paper and he would just do some drawing. I remember one time my dad drew a picture of my niece, and it really just blew me away that my dad could just out of nowhere just pick up a piece of paper and just draw something without any, it didn't even seem like any effort. It was just something like, oh, I feel like drawing, here we go,
Right,
bam.
right,
And that was very influential to me. And same thing with my brother, my older brother. he would do a lot of drawings. And one thing that I would catch from him was he would do a lot of ink drawings. He would just do a lot of like really sharp, clean doodling on paper. And it was really precise and accurate. And I would ask myself, like, how could he do that without erasing? Because he's doing it with ink. So at first I would feel, very intimidated by it, but eventually I started trying it and picking it up myself, and and I found ways to do it as well. So really a lot of the basis of what I do started from drawing, mimicking my older brother, appreciating seeing my dad draw here and there. And then I was also like the type of kid, like I would come home from school and watch drawing programs and art programs on PBS.
Okay.
And I would get tips on how to shade and how to render and things of that nature from there. So, that's really, really how, the things started to develop inside of me. And a lot of times when I was younger, I would be drawing simple things like my favorite cartoon characters, He-Man, Thundercats. I would be drawing stuff like making up my own Air Jordan shoes. Just
Yeah,
about every kid grew up in the 80s was coming up with their own Air Jordans,
yeah, right,
Star Wars and stuff like that.
right,
So,
right.
that's how it kind of, came, how it started for me.
Cool. That's interesting backstory. So your dad, did he ever? I mean, did he tell you like he was an artist, or he just kind of did it on the side? Did he tell you like he was like was he proactive in terms of like instructing you from the artistic side, or you just picked things up and you saw him doing his thing, you just kind of picked it up from that way?
No, I wouldn't say he was proactive in regards to telling me like you're an artist or teaching me this or that method. But one of the things that he would allow me to do was like a lot of times when I was in church on Sundays, my dad would of course he would have us doing other things. So I was usher, I was in the choir, even though I didn't want to be like all those different type of things. Like if you grow up in church, you're gonna do basically everything.
Yeah,
But there were also times where he would allow me to sit there and draw and maybe try to come up with a story about like the sermon that was going on that day or like what was going on in the church. So, he would allow me to do things like that. And, I definitely would take advantage of that. So I remember sometimes sitting there drawing stuff Sunday while the music was going on. And then, some of my friend Juan, he would be beside me drawing and things of that nature. So definitely I was allowed to practice those things
yeah,
and
yeah,
to, work on them. But I really didn't realize that it was me developing a skill.
yeah.
It
So
was just something that I was doing because I like to do it.
right, right. And your dad was giving you the green light at the time in church. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So you were kind of developing probably at the time. So a lot of your work is like you're telling a story, like you're telling a narrative in your work. Do you think that was sort of like the catalyst of putting concepts together and ideas together to tell a story through your work?
I think that it probably was. Again, at that time, I didn't realize that that's what it is that was going on. But now, looking back at it and thinking about growing up in the church, hearing my father minister, every Sunday morning, having other preachers from all across from the South and the Midwest come in and preach, having revivals and choirs come in, and hearing all of these stories and testimonies from people and things of that nature. I think that definitely influenced me to be able to create works that are telling stories. And I definitely try to do that through my work, because I feel like, if it's coming from me, if I'm telling a story, hopefully somebody is going to be able to connect with what it is that I'm trying to convey through my work. And it took a while for me to get there. I tried so many different things, and and all of these different things that I tried, it seemed like it didn't really work. But the more that I try to tell my story or people's stories, of people that I meet, people that I love, people that I'm friends with, then it seemed like the art started to develop and started to mature.
Interesting. And so you sort
So
of,
I definitely feel like I'm in a maturing process as an artist. I don't feel like I'm, completely matured yet. But I do feel like I'm in a process of maturation and trying to develop what it is that I do.
so speak on that a little bit. So maturation in terms of like the technique or the execution, or like or what?
Both. I feel like I'm trying to mature in my technique and the way that, I execute my work and the way that it's presented, the quality of the work. That's one way that I'm trying to mature. Like as an artist, I know that you can relate to this. You see something in your head, right? And when you see that thing in your head, you try to produce it through whatever medium it is that you're working with. So most of the time I'm working with acrylic on canvas. So I see something, I try to produce it one for one. That's how I see it in my head.
In your head, right, right.
10 years ago, maybe I was 10%. Maybe I could produce it 10%. Right now, I probably can produce it 60 or 70%, but I'm still not able to produce one of one inside of my head as to what I'm seeing. So there's a maturation in technique, and there's also me trying to mature in the stories that I'm telling and the emotions that I'm trying to express and convey through my work. You know, I feel like at times it can be difficult to express yourself holistically and as purely as possible, and that's where I'm trying to get in regards to maturation and not being afraid to maybe say something that I feel like, well, maybe people won't perceive it correctly, and trying to step outside of my own way.
Mm.
And if I feel that I should put this particular thing out or say this particular thing, just go ahead and do it. And if people don't feel it, then they just don't feel it.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's coming from me, so it probably should come out.
yeah. It's interesting. So the maturation and the growth process. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
how do you? How would you? How would you? What's the question I'm looking for? How would you explain it? How would you encourage other artists to explore that? How do you? How? What would you say to them? To grow and mature in the thought process of how they or what their art practice is. How
Yeah,
important?
I feel what you're saying. What One of the things that I think about is whenever I feel like I'm trying to push a piece of work or I'm trying to over explain, it just doesn't seem like it comes out correctly. It seems like the idea, like if I'm trying to create a grandiose idea that's really, large and uh, complex and convoluted, it just doesn't seem like it comes out properly. So I try to work with simplicity and add on as I go and as I feel, and be very reflective and look at my work, and also remind myself that if I'm staring at a piece of work that I've produced and I'm trying to add something to it that makes sense, I realize that that's work too. Like if I'm looking at a piece for an hour trying to
All right, I think I lost you for a second, but keep going. Can you hear me? All right. So we're back. We lost you for a second, Israel. So let's talk about. You mentioned the word simplicity. So simplicity in your work, and I mentioned a little bit about your work is simple but really complex at the same time. So touch on that.
Yeah, like I I feel like when I'm creating a piece of work or I'm producing something or I have an idea in my head, a lot of times I feel like when I have large, grandiose ideas that are very complex, it feels like it's difficult to execute those ideas. And sometimes overthinking just ends up just as that, just that you've overthought it, and you're maybe thinking too hard into what it is that you're doing, and it's going to show in your work, and it's probably going to be too convoluted and jammed up. So, I definitely just try to come through with like the simplicity of thought, simple things that are um digestible, and you can see it, you can understand it, and maybe if you dive a little bit deeper into it, or speak with me about it, or understand what it is that I'm trying to execute, you can see where I'm coming from with it. So definitely for an artist who's looking for that spark that's unique for them, I would say don't try your best not to overthink. Try your best not to have grandiose ideas that are very extremely difficult to execute. Work on the simplicity, work on the simple things, and develop that technique, and you're going to continue to add layer on top of layer on top of layer in what it is that you do, and ultimately that's going to lead to the complexity in your work. And I would say that being consistent with those simple things, that's what sort of leads you into the complexities, because you're grabbing something and you're adding on, like one step at a time, one thing at a time. You're like, if you're building a castle, you got the stone, you got the one stone, or you building a pyramid. Now you added another one, then you added another one, and ultimately, it reaches to the pyramid, but it was over time. You didn't do it overnight. And I feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm grabbing one piece at a time, and I haven't reached that pinnacle yet,
Mm.
but I'm trying to get there through that constant practice.
Mm. So that's a great segue into my next question, which is success. So what is success to Israel Solomon? What is success to you?
For me, success, I believe, is several things. Uh, of course, success in my eyes, for one thing, is being able to be respected by my peers, and also by the individuals who I look up to. Hopefully come into a place to where individuals who I have admired for years, are able to see my work and say, "Hey, I see what you're doing. Great job." I think that that for me, that is success, because I work so hard to really develop myself and to push myself forward. Um, and also success for me is being able to feed my family. I don't produce art with the mindset of, man, I need to make something that's going to sell. However, it's true. I have to feed my family. So, I definitely need to be able to do that. So, that's one aspect of success as well. But there's so many different things that equate to success for me. Um, I've had success here in this market in Indianapolis, and people respect what it is that I do, and that feels great. But I also want to stretch out around the country, and ultimately around the globe. And I want to have people see my work, react to it, and I want to get feedback from individuals in other regions as well. So for me, success is there's a lot of things that some up success, but I'm trying to take those steps to get there. Recently I've had a lot of people in my life, people that I grew up with, people that I went to church with, relatives, older relatives, have came up to me and said, "Hey, I see what it is that you're doing. I saw you on this, or I saw you do that, and keep up the good work. I'm proud of you." And to me, that's a lot of success to me. And even those types of things mean more than the monetary gain, because people, are seeing what it is that I do, and they're admiring it, and they're seeing the hard work that I put behind it. And it makes me feel like there's a purpose for what it is that I'm doing, and that there's some validity in what I'm doing.
Gotcha. So that would be your definition of success to you: respect by your peers and the community, basically, and be able to support your family.
Yeah, for sure. And growth, growth in reaching across the country, and getting my work in different places and having people admire it outside of this
Indianapolis
community
market.
that I'm in.
Yeah, sure. So have you shown much outside of Indianapolis yet?
No, so that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to doing with you. I'm going to be doing something in Chicago in November. So, I'm definitely excited about that. And then I also have something else that I'm in talks with. But I'm the type of person that I don't want to mention those things until they're 100%
Yeah,
like solidified. So
still.
no, I haven't. I have had some opportunities outside of Indianapolis, but I haven't shown any work outside of the state yet.
Sure.
So I have a couple of things lining up, and then I also have something else that's looks like it's lining up as well. But I definitely don't want to say until it is actually
It's still
100% a thing, So I'm
good.
looking forward to that growth. I feel like where I'm at right now, I haven't reached the ceiling, or that there's other things that I can do here for sure, but I also feel like it's time for me to start to spread out. And I would call it growing pains. I think about, when you're younger, 11, 12 years old, they say you're in those awkward stages, you're in the growing pains. Things might hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm in the growing stage. And I'm looking forward to seeing where that's going to take me.
So talk about your home base. It's funny you mentioned that though, real quick. Kokomo, Indiana. So
Yeah.
I used to play football, and back in the day we played the Kokomo Mustangs. It was a semi-pro team I played on.
Yeah, I have a cousin that played on the
Oh,
Mustangs for
really?
maybe a year or two. Wow, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so the word Kokomo just brings back a lot of memories, man. We drove down and we beat them, and that was a tough game. That was a tough game. But anyway,
Wow.
yeah. Oh, so let's talk about Indianapolis. What's the art scene like down there in Indianapolis? Let's speak on that. What's the vibe?
Yeah, I think that the art scene I think it's growing, and I think it's getting healthier, and I think that it's becoming more full. Just a few years ago, there there's so many artists in the city, even 3, 4 years ago, that I didn't even know existed, that now are getting shine and doing are showing the community all of the great things that they're doing. So, I feel like every year I'm just learning about more and more artists that I didn't even know existed. And then I see their work and I'm like, oh wow, that's amazing. And it lets me know that there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of talent here. And the surface is just now being scratched.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that this is a growing community for artists, visual artists, especially Black artists, artists of color. I think that we're definitely doing some great things here in the city that's growing the city. But I think that there is a lot of growth to come as well in the community, and what it is that we can do. So for me, I'm hoping to see, more connections. Of course, I'm part of a collective of artists called the 18. And we're doing some great things in the city. But outside of the 18, there's so many other dope artists here in the city that are doing amazing things. And I just want to see that grow. Like Matthew Cooper,
Mm-hmm.
that Shady Flocka, Shantae Lewis. There's so many. I don't want to name
Yeah,
because there's so many that I'm just gonna forget people, and I don't want to disrespect anybody. But there's a lot of creativity going on here, and I think that what's happening right now is everybody's just sharpening each other up,
yeah,
because I know that when I go to art events, especially like when I went to Butter, you know, I couldn't sleep for the next 3 or 4 days because I was so motivated to start to create and to produce new work based upon what I saw. So I know that that means that we're all. I know I'm not the only person feeling like that. So we're sharpening each other right now, and I can just see us raising further and further as long as we continue to move forward and stay positive about things and know that as an artist, you have there's so many ups and downs. Don't let those downs pull you away. Just keep pushing through them because there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. And so this the 18 collective. It's a
Yeah.
that's a good conversation piece, and that
Mm-hmm.
connects to one of my next questions, which is mentorship. So talk about mentorship in the arts and what that 18 collective helps to facilitate that mentoring with one another. You speak on that and why that's important.
Well, I when I talk about the 18, like I'm a hip hop fan. So I think about the Wu-Tang Clan. I think that there were like 9 core members. Maybe you could say 10 if you count Capadonna. I do, but most people say 9. So I say like we're double Wu-Tang. So we got 18 people involved doing 18 different things, moving forward and really trying to push our work throughout the community. So, I think that, the best way that we mentor each other is just through trying to help each other and to continue to provide opportunities for one another within the city. And, even small things like, hey, you know, it might be a chat where somebody's like, hey, I need to know, how can I send this out? How can I package this? I got a big piece. I don't know how to get it out there. Or how can I do this? How can I do that? We try to help each other in that regard. Or, like I might have something that somebody might need to borrow to create a mural. So let them borrow that, and they can go and do their thing with that. And that's how we're helping each other out. I think that as long as we can continue to do that, we're going to continue to grow. And how I met you because of Kevin.
Kevin, right?
So
Right.
I wouldn't have met you if it weren't for Kevin. Well, I might have met you at Butter, but that might not have even happened if it weren't for Kevin. So,
True.
just being able to, share opportunities with each other and, celebrate each other's work and support each other, that helps us to all continue to grow.
Right. Very true. Very true. And I met Kevin at the Black Fine Art Fair in Ohio, and
Yeah, yeah.
I just went up
Mhm.
to him, man, and we just started rapping, man, and that's kind of how that relationship started. We've been connected ever since. Really prolific artist. Who we're talking about, Kevin Nance West, who will also be on our podcast too
Mm.
later on down the road. So yeah, so that mentoring with that 18 art collective, that's one of the byproducts of the collective is that mentoring.
Yeah, and I also would like to say, not only, are we trying to help each other out because everybody's on so many different levels, it's like a wave, but we're also mentoring in the community as well. So earlier this year, we started a young mentorship program, and we mentored teenagers, preteens, and we brought them into our studios. We worked with them. They had an art show. They were selling art, and I believe we're going to do that again coming in the future next year. So we also have that mentorship program that we've been working with, and I love being able to do that. That's for me. That's the type of thing that makes me want to keep going, because if I can help somebody who may feel like they can connect with me
Mm-hmm.
to say to themselves, you know what, I can do this too. If he can do it or if she can do it, they can do it. I can do it too. If I can help somebody like that, then I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing because, growing up, being younger, um, I didn't know any successful visual artists that looked like me. I didn't have any successful visual artists that looked like me that could say, hey, I did, this was my path. This is what I did to get there. So having 18 people who can say, I've had success. Look at what it is that I can do. I think that's a great thing for us for sure.
Yeah, I feel like we meaning, this our generation, of artists compared to
Mm-hmm.
our elders and our ancestors, the previous generation. We're
Yes.
we're standing on the shoulders of giants, and we the likes of Romare Bearden or Augustus Savage or Ernie Barnes. I mean, the list goes
Yeah.
on and on and on. We this is a continuation of that. We're
Definitely.
we're passing that on. So, when I have these podcast interviews, the one of the common themes that you touched on is that even though there's a long history of Black art in America and Black artists, um, locally, like where we are and around the country, there's no access, right? We don't have access to these artists, or the culture is sort of telling us that um, this is not a route we should take. This is not a path that we should take to be
Mm-hmm.
visual artists.
Yep.
And that's one of the common themes I'm really heard from a lot of people. So how can we, you mentioned some of that, but how can we change that, as a collective of artists in general?
I think that by teaching, being available for mentorship, I think that those are probably the best ways in my mind to be able to assist the younger generation into moving forward, and knowing that art is a career path that I can take. This is a real thing that I can do, and if I stay focused and I put my efforts into it, this is something that can bear fruit just like anything else. So I definitely think that it's through mentorship, through speaking, and through working with the youth and younger artists. That's how we can make sure that it's growing and that people are continuing to move forward, because there's definitely some great things going on in this generation, but if we're able to do that and assist, then the generation behind us is going to be 10 times, they're going to do 10 times what we've done.
Right.
Just like when I'm thinking about, I said, earlier, I love hip hop music, and I'm thinking about, like what Cool Herc did, and what the founding fathers did. Did they make money off of it? Probably not. But then the next generation came, and then you got your LLs and your Dr. Dre's, and then after that, so then it started to just continue a snowball effect, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's almost taken over the world with culture, fashion.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, you see it. I
Right.
think that that can happen with us as well. We don't have a lot of representation in museums and galleries across the country. If you go to your typical art history book, you're not going to see us. Like we're not in those books. You're going to see some mask making, and they're going to call it primitive, and it's not. But we're not in those books, and we need to create our own history, and I think that's what we're doing right now. So I think that um this is not a midpoint. I think we're still at the beginning, you know of this journey, and I think that the next generation is gonna bear even more fruit than what's going on right now.
Yeah, those are good points, man. And especially when you talk about this. Man, you touched on so many things. When you talk about this, the next generation of this of art, right? You got this the AI art, artificial intelligence art. You have,
Yes.
NFTs, which people are still trying to sort of wrap their hands around. But I think this next generation will just really, that'll be their thing. That will be their thing. That will be the thing. Um,
Yeah.
I believe, and they'll just, kids are so resilient and really highly intelligent, and they'll just take this new technology and run with it to make it their own. So that's a good segue. Now let's talk about
Yeah.
um, the museum. So talk about the show at Newfields. This is pretty unique in the area. So can you touch on that?
Yeah, so I'm part of the 18 Art Collective, and we have a show that just opened up last Thursday at Newfields Museum, which is the art museum here in the city of Indianapolis. The show is titled "We the Culture," and it exhibits artworks from every single member of the 18 Art Collective within that space. The opening, it was an amazing event. It was beautiful. Um, there's so many people that came out and showed us love and appreciation. And, I'm still getting people sending me text messages, sending me pictures and Instagram of the work and just, saying that we did our thing. And, it's a beautiful thing. And it was a long road to get there. Newfields, there's some controversies that have occurred with that organization throughout the history of the organization. And, we were originally approached with a show a couple of years ago. Um, and it was going to feature our the mural that we created. The 18 Collective started from a mural that was created um, 2 years ago on Indiana Avenue. We did a Black Lives Matter mural. After there were so many things that were going on during that time frame, and there was a lot of protest that was going on during that time as well. After the murder of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many others. And we produced this mural, and through this mural, this is how the collective ended up forming. So the museum reached out to us asking us, if we wanted to have an exhibition there in regards to the mural. And, we said, yeah, we want to have an exhibition there, but we also want to feature our own work because we're all unique artists. And, we have stories to tell through our work. And we were going to do the exhibition, but there were some controversies that occurred around that same time with the organization of Newfields. I don't want to go into deep details over what occurred and how it all occurred. If anyone is interested, you can literally, Google search and see what it is that occurred at that time frame. It was so disappointing and so disturbing that we pulled out, and we decided that we did not want to do the exhibition. Um, there are some changes that ended up being made afterwards, and we agreed that we would come back, and we had definite things that we wanted to see in the exhibition for us to be able to come back. So, we had a few things that we had requested would happen, and of course, one of those things was to show our work as individuals within the exhibition. And it's been over a year in the making, and what has came out of it, I think, is a positive showing for the collective and for the community of Indianapolis. And what I hope that occurs through this exhibition is more opportunities for artists of color, Black artists at Newfields Museum, and local artists as well that deserve that shine to go, at in that organization and show what it is that that they have. So I don't know. I said a lot there, but it's an amazing exhibition, Scott. I hope that you'll be able to check it out before it closes. It's going to be up for a year, but it's breathtaking. It's beautiful, and the opening night, it was so surreal that I really didn't get to soak it all in. So I told myself that I'm going to wait a week or two and just let myself kind of breathe it out and go in there by myself and just really take it all in and really absorb it. But I would suggest anybody, if you're listening to this podcast and you're going to be in the Indianapolis area, definitely take the time to come to Newfields and check out that exhibition. You're going to see some amazing work by 18 amazing artists.
So how was that? How did that feel? Did it feel different because it's in a museum, like a more of a well-known established museum? How did that feel?
Yeah, it definitely feels different. It definitely feels surreal. I wouldn't say that I've even processed it completely yet, because I'm still talking to people, and people are coming up to me and saying, "Hey, it's awesome. I know an artist that's in a museum. Congratulations. I heard you're at Newfields. Your work is amazing. The collective's work looks great." I'm still hearing that, and I think that I'm going to continue to hear that as long as it's up. I honestly have not even really processed it yet. One of my visions as an artist was to, have my work in a museum, and to see that in an art museum, and to see that come into fruition and come to life. It's definitely validation that I'm on the right path,
Mm-hmm.
because, as artists, we can second guess ourselves a lot. We can ask ourselves a lot, am I doing the right thing? Should I still be doing this? Maybe I should not do it. Maybe I should go ahead and get me a regular job and forget all this stuff and create it for myself. But when you have these types of wins, it feels like I'm validating, like what I'm doing is being validated. And it's telling me that, you're on the right path. You need to continue to push forward, because there's a lot more to come.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's dope, man. Yeah, you're right, indeed. On so many levels. So man, we are getting close to our time, already. So, but there's a few more things I want to touch on. So
Mhm.
talk about, like, what does art talk about the connection between mental health and art, or even like sort of your mental health and your art practice. Can you speak on that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think art is very therapeutic. I was a very quiet kid. I was a shy, introverted child, and in a way, I still am introverted, and I keep to myself a lot. But art has always just been a way for me to express myself and get out those emotions and feelings. Like, and that doesn't even mean like, okay, so I'm feeling depressed today, so I need to paint a picture about depression. Like, no, like it might mean that I just need to grab a piece of paper and just get something out real quick that has nothing to do with anything. Like I might just need to draw an abstract design real quick just to get my mind off of everything that's going on in my life. And in that sense, there's so many ways that art can be therapeutic and it can be healing. And to me, it's a positive way to channel your energy. If your energy is positive, if your energy is negative, or if it's somewhere in between, it's a positive way to get that energy out. So I definitely encourage people. Art does not have to be a career. You don't have to do this because you want a career out of it. If you just need to do it because it makes you feel good, and it's a source of therapy for you, that's great. That's a wonderful reason to do it. And I think that because I teach, there may be one day where I provide some sort of art therapy. But I think that when you're teaching people techniques, and working with people, and helping them to express themselves, I think that is giving them a tool for therapy that they can use in the future. So yeah, definitely art is extremely therapeutic. More so than anything. Again, if you love doing it, please, just by all means, pick that pencil up, pick up that clay, and do it, and get those emotions out. And like I said, that doesn't mean you have to say, oh, I'm angry today, so I'm going to paint a picture about anger. That just means that you might paint a picture of your face smiling,
Right.
because you want to see a smile on your face that day, or something like that. But get it out. It's very therapeutic, and it's a positive way. I used to tell kids, like, instead of hitting the wall, like, a lot of us have had days where we've been upset and we hit the wall and we're like, dang, I just busted my hand or something. Pick up a pencil and draw that out,
Yeah.
and breathe through it.
Yeah. Wow, that's deep, man. Words of wisdom from Israel Solomon, everybody. Breathing. You touched on a real. That's real though, man. Breathing is a very important aspect. It's a
Oh
very
yeah.
important aspect of meditation or any sort of like mindful activity. And I remember playing
Yes.
football. Like playing football, it was breathing was important on like physically when you're on the field, but also like getting yourself mentally prepared, right? Just soaking in the environment, atmosphere, and meditation is called your mandala. So really your field of awareness. So in the art, it's the same sort of concept, just like your studio. It's not a football field. It's a studio surrounded with your art or other people's influence. And I'm going to ask you real quick, and I forgot to ask you, who are some of your influences, artistic and creative influences?
I have so many different influences, and they're not all painters or visual artists. I would say in regards to painters and visual artists, my major influence would be Jacob Lawrence. And the I think that the reason that it happened is I remember when I was in college and I was taking some art classes because I was going to be an art teacher, and we had to do some type of report on an artist. And I just like I was thinking, I was like, man, I don't really know very many artists like black artists. And I said, I'm going to make it a point that I'm going to research and find a black artist, and that's what I'm going to do this work about. And I went to the library, and I can say, out of this huge library at Ball State, and I'm hoping that things have changed
Yeah, yeah,
at this point. But at this huge library, the section of black artists, there was a section was probably about that big.
I did. Wow. That's,
And the artist that I stumbled upon and found was Jacob Lawrence. And I immediately fell in love with his work. And I think that what really attracts me to his work is that the movement that he puts inside of his work. As visual artists and painters, we're literally creating a stagnant image that does not move. If I was a filmmaker, I would have the ability to have so much movement and transition in my work. If I was making video games, I can literally create something that's
right,
moving,
right, right.
But as a painter, I'm creating a stagnant image. Jacob Lawrence was telling stories through his work, and each one of those stories that he was telling had so much movement in the work. And he didn't do it with a lot of he didn't create heavily representational art. It was very flat. It was very simple. That you may think it's simple, but it's not. The
Yeah,
color complexities and the way that the colors move around create so much movement and energy that that really spoke to me. And I definitely have carried that from then until now. And I try to do my best to duplicate what it is that he does with color and movement, but I'm definitely not there right now. But that's definitely one of my major influences as a visual artist. There's a lot of others, but and even like I said with hip hop is extremely repetitive, and there's a lot of rhythm and pattern to it. And I try to put those rhythms and patterns. I don't create graffiti art. I don't say that what I do is really graffiti inspired, but I do think that it's inspired through hip hop when you see the patterns, the colors and the repetition.
yeah, sure. You can definitely see that in your work. You can see Jacob Lawrence's influence in your work. The work behind you, on all your pieces. So we talked about that before about the simplicity of the work, but the complexity at the same time.
Yes.
So when you talk about, let's talk really briefly about the pieces behind you. So those are,
Mm-hmm.
well, let's talk about those three pieces. You want to share with us, about names and then a little bit about each one.
Yeah, so this particular piece right here, it's I don't really have a solid title for it yet. But it is a self-portrait. So that's me there at the bottom laying down, and that's me as well here at the top.
Wow.
So This is a piece that I had created the reference images for about a year ago. Back when I had my locks, my daughter combed them out for me, but I'm gonna grow them back again eventually.
Okay,
But
okay.
anyway, yeah. So what I wanted to show in this particular piece, I was really trying to make a semblance of change and a semblance of the cycle of life and life and death. So when I'm showing this particular image, um, the individual, which is me laying here, is dying, and then this is the spirit that's coming out of the
Mm,
individual that's dying.
mm,
Now, I didn't create this to say that I want to die or I'm thinking about death or the next thing, but I think about life as sometimes you have to allow certain things in your life to die and to pass on in order to grow and in order to improve.
right.
So that was sort of, what I was thinking when I was producing this image. There's certain things inside of me that I want to let go of and I want to die in order for me to be rebirthed, in order for me to make it into the next level. So that's what's going on here. That's why it feels somewhat surreal. I wanted to make it feel like maybe the world was kind of coming apart and I was entering into another dimension. So that's what I was going for with this particular piece. So yeah, I do want it to be a work that is about death, but it's also about birth and life. And when I think about death and when I think about life, it's almost like if you think about the process of being born, you're growing inside of a womb for 9.5 months, and you're coming to life. You're growing, and you're familiar with this atmosphere, and um suddenly, 9 months comes and it's time to be born. I'm imagining, and of course, we can't remember back to what our birth was like, but I bet that when you're coming out of the womb, it's like a death experience. You
Yeah,
probably feel like you're dying.
very traumatic. Yeah,
It's traumatic, it's scary,
right.
it may be somewhat painful, and all of a sudden hit with this light. You're hit with this light. How many times have you heard people say that, like they've had near death experiences and they've been hit with like this, they've seen this light? It's almost like when we're born, I wonder if that's experience for us, it almost feels like we're dying,
Mm,
but we're coming into this new world, and all of a sudden what we were familiar with, we see all of this newness around us and we're scared and we're crying, and
yeah,
then all of a sudden we come to our mothers.
yeah,
So I think that death and life are very connected, and that's sort of what I was trying to portray with
yeah,
this.
sure. No, that makes sense. Wow, that's deep.
Yeah. So with this particular piece here, this is part of a series of works that I've been producing. This is painting number 6 in the series, and this particular piece is actually located outside of Newfield's museum. So Newfields is the museum where the collective has the show right now. And one of the things that I learned in church when I was growing up was if you wanted something for yourself, you had to walk around it and claim it and believe it that it's yours. And part of this particular series of paintings is me walking around the space. This is 100 Acres Park, which is located behind Newfields, claiming it for myself, wanting it for myself, and bringing people along with me who I have met, friends of mine, and loved ones. And that's basically what's going on with this piece. So this one's probably about 50% done. There's a lot more work that needs to go into it, but that's what's going on with this particular piece right here. So I believe, like I said, I think there's 6 of these all together. So this is a friend of mine named Jasmine. She does a lot of work in the community uh, with uh, trying to ensure that individuals are educated in regards to safe sex practices and things of that nature. Um, I have my wife; she's featured in the image. A fellow artist of mine named Yabi is featured in this particular series. a friend of mine named Ray, who's a major league soccer player. So I'm bringing these people along with me as I'm walking around claiming the space. So
Mm,
that's sort of what's going on with this particular series of work right here. And then the piece back here, this is a friend of mine. Her name is Brittany. I used to work alongside her when I was working as a school teacher. I worked at KIPP Indianapolis as an art teacher. And, she's a friend of mine. And we've had a lot of really good conversations. And I asked her, if she would allow me to paint her. So one day, she came into my studio and, we took some reference images and that's how this one all came about. And a lot of this painting, of course, it's about Brittany, but it's also me exploring color a little bit further and a little bit deeper, and really trying to elevate my style.
yeah,
So what I've been trying to do is maybe make things even less geometric, well, more geometric, but even more simplified. So I tried to strip things down even more and just have the color just live and breathe more so than in,
yeah,
I would
yeah,
say, this painting,
yeah, sure. Well, that one in the middle really reminds me of Jacob Lawrence style, and the one to the right too. I mean, they all do really, but it's you talk about those solid like pops of color
Yeah,
shapes, and then
for
like this
sure.
one, the one in the middle really the use of color, like everything complements one another. You have sort of this darker image in the middle, but then these pops of color are surrounding them, and they all live in the same space. It's really beautiful, man. So great work.
I
So
appreciate that.
we are coming on the tail end of our interview. Israel, I told you, man. Time flies when you're having fun, man. We could talk
Oh yeah.
for hours, on this stuff, man. Um, so where can people find you online and in social media?
Yeah, I have a Instagram. It's Israel Solo Art. So ISRAELSOLOART. I also have a Facebook page. I'm going to be honest, I don't use it very often, but I do post things there from time to time, which is Israel Solomon Art. I have a website, which is www.israelsolomonart.com. And that's SOLOMON, because sometimes people put MAN. So israelsolomonart.com, that's my website. Those are ways that you can reach out to me. If you want to send me a message or anything, you can always send me a DM. I look at them and respond to them. Or if you want to, message me through the website, that would be fine too. And those are the best ways to reach me online. I don't have a TikTok or Snapchat. I don't know if there's a point in me having one. So I don't know. There's been a couple of people that have told me to get them, but I just don't see the point right now.
Yeah, be with you on that. It's hard to keep up because so many things out there. It's hard to keep up on all those things.
Yeah, and I don't know if my work is digestible in that medium anyway, because it's like rapid, fast-paced videos, and I don't like I want people to see it in person and really, take a look at the work and analyze it. And through a quick, turn around 15, 20-second video, I don't think there's anything you can personally, I don't know if you can get anything from my work like that.
Yeah, that's legit. Those are legit concerns. That's for sure. So again, thank you, Israel. You can also check out Israel Solomon will be a part of an exhibit here at Mahogany Gallery in 2023. So we're excited to have him on board for that. So stay tuned
Oh yeah.
for more information regarding that.
Yes.
Again, thank you, Israel, for joining me today. And be sure to go check out Israel Solo Art, all right,
Yep.
on IG and the other channels that he mentioned. I want to give a shout out quick to our sponsor again, University of Wisconsin Parkside College of Art and Humanities. Thank you for your sponsorship for the Backyard Culture podcast and the support of artists throughout the Midwest and the United States as a whole. So again, thank you, Israel. We're gonna be seeing you, man. All right.
Hey, thanks for having me, Scott. I appreciate it.
Right on, right on. All right, peace, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All right.